The threat represented by the drow on the Trove Islands now extends as far as Port Sovereign itself. Apparently, the Dark Elves and their underlings have quietly been occupying the city's cellars and sewers as they are appearing by night to terrorise the city. With the city's defence budget at his disposal, Ambrose, as newly minted commander, issues a call to arms to the general populace. 1,000 gold pieces is allotted to arm those of fighting age, with a further 200 per week to continue the militia's training. The one-armed commander is also familiar with the gnomes who operate the city's printing presses via Rudu. Another 200 gold pieces secures the production of handbills explaining how to make improvised weapons. Unfortunately, Tycho Borax, now Admiral Borax, has spent 100 gold pieces of the treasury's money on a new outfit befitting an admiral's rank, and 5,000 gold pieces repairing and refitting the woman scorned. For his part, Tor sends a message via Raven to his home clan on the Kriegsring that they need to send reinforcements to help Port Sovereign in its hour of need. Another unwelcome word on the grapevine is that the hobgoblins have cracked the first of the 3 riddles left by Giles Cartness, the solution to which wins his vast fortune and estates. With preparations for the defence of the city against the drow underway, the party resolves to travel to the Kriegsring to find the fortress of the Iron Shadows. This is the hobgoblins' ruthless intelligence network, and it's likely them who cracked the first stage of the puzzle and them for whom the party needs to wrest the answer. The Cartness fortune is too great for an enemy to be allowed to win that race. The city council seizes the opportunity offered by the company's journey to kill a second bird with the same stone. 𝘚𝘤𝘰𝘮𝑚 is the hobgoblin warlord that the stalwart defenders defeated at Quarry Hill and is now held in a Port Sovereign safe house. Despite this blow to his honour, Hiragana holds Daiymo Kanji, the overall ruler of the hobgoblins, who rules from 𝘞𝘰𝘮𝑚, to be an even less suitable leader. Kanji, despite his military and political successes, enjoys exotic substances and the company of human women. This is a matter of a great dishonour and makes him unfit to be daimyo. The party arrives at the safe house just in time to catch agents of the hobgoblin Iron Shadows. They are working way behind enemy lines, launching an assassination attempt upon the Taichu. They are aided by some human hirelings, one of whom is Jedrick Shankskill, the leader of a gang to which Mayona formerly belonged. The Iron Shadows and their assassins give good, but the party bests them, spectacularly finishing Shankskill by magically blinding, holding and finally frying him with lightning. Despite his messy demise, the gang chief's pendant of the doppelganger, which had been one of the secrets of Shankskill's success, is still intact. Mayona pays little heed to the remains of the former gang leader, stepping over his mangled body to help herself to the magical trinket. She is already a skilled practitioner of disguise and deception, so such a pendant is irresistible for someone looking to hone such arts further. Moreover, the hobgoblin Taichu is saved, setting the stage for the stalwart defender's journey to the Kriegsring. With Tycho Borax more or less answerable to the party, his ship, the Woman Scorned, is available for the stalwart defender's upcoming sea journey. Since the Woman Scorned once served as a slave ship along the same route, it might be received less suspiciously than other vessels attempting to gain access to hobgoblin regions. Shadow Devil's evil black sword still protrudes from the ship's wooden deck, where it was accidentally jammed mid-combat during his scramble to save Princess 𝘞𝘰𝘮𝘯 from the stalwart defenders. Ever since one of the men in Borax's pay tried his luck with the weapon, only to be instantly killed upon touching it, no one else has dared. Taichu Hiragana, whose weapons were taken for him after his defeat at Quarry Hill, has more success. Maybe some dark part of the hobgoblin soul resonates with the hateful sword. Hopefully the same can be said of all of Hiragana's kin, and he will not prove to be a yet worse tyrant than Kanji. Admiral Borax makes a point of skirting around the alley reef island. According to sailors' lore, sirens could draw them to their doom. However, the woman scorn drifts into an ambush of another sort. Shadow Devil once again emerges, this time with two lesser devils wanting his sword back, determined to leave nothing to chance this time. Backed by two local Sahuagin barons and their sea soldiers, they attack the ship's voyagers, forcing Borax, the hobgoblin warlord and the stalwart defenders to come together in a most unlikely alliance. Kadira wastes no time in banishing Shadow Devil, and the party defeat the rest of its foes, who flounder after the loss of their leader. It is not a lossless victory though, and Rudu resurrects several sailors who were killed in the fighting. This act of kindness raises morale greatly, putting to rest any remaining doubts the crew may have had about the party and its intentions. Taichu Hiragana has promised the party will not face any trouble when it lands at Camp Gordachu, the hobgoblin port from which he set sail for the Trove Islands with his armada. However, to Hiragana's horror, since having left the camp, it has fallen to the hated orcs. Upon arrival, the party is treated with general indifference by the orcs, except for a band from the bigger, meaner, more heavily armoured clan Blueface, who fancy their chances killing and looting from the party. These orcs lose resoundingly, however, and their campmates take the hint. Although the entire camp could overwhelm the stalwart defenders with its sheer numbers, the odds any one orc might be killed, compared to whatever measly amount of gold would be shared out after the fight, does not make for good orconomics. The party is left unmolested for the remainder of its stay, and it makes the most of this uneasy freedom to explore what has become of this coastal outpost. The camp, once rigidly neat and regimented according to the hobgoblin standards, is falling into squalid disarray. Hiragana, disguised in a hooded cloak, is barely able to suppress his rage. However, in front of one tent, the company recognises a symbol it first saw in Southward Head, that of the Cog Raiders. Rudu puts his head into the tent only to meet a former comrade of the stalwart defenders, Gaston Macready. "G'day, little fella. Me and your friends have some history together. I suppose they've already told you about what happened at Quarry Hill. I see you've made friends with the orcs. Trick is to make it worth their while not to kill you, and they pretty much leave you to your business." As the remaining members of the party are reunited with Macready, they tell their former co-conspirator about their plan to topple Daiymo Kanji and replace him with Hiragana. They wait until the Taichu is out of earshot before mentioning their other original goal, to steal a lead on the Cartness riddle from the Iron Shadows. Macready is set to travel to Sunderberg, which is not far, on a scavenging mission. To this day, the long-dead city is tirelessly patrolled by constructs, which turned upon the original populace as the result of a failed coup by an evil wizard, Pansriel the Green. As luck would have it, Macready claims that the Iron Shadows have installed scrying stones around the continent as part of their surveillance network. One such stone is, apparently, in Sunderberg. If the stalwart defenders accompany Macready, the more swords the better, he will attempt to reverse engineer the scrying stones so as to spy back on the hobgoblins. So enchanted was Sunderberg once upon a time that it even hovered above the ground. This magic has long since dissipated, however, so a way in can be found via its rocky underbelly. Macready by no means exaggerates the dangers in the cave network leading up to the city streets. Both ancient soldier constructs and the rat folk who have taken residence in the city's bowels since its literal fall from grace harry the group's progress. Old Jenny is able to dispel whatever incantation is compelling one of the constructs. In doing so, she discerns that not all magic has leached out of Sunderberg, it would seem. Kadira works her necromantic skills in the opposite direction, raising some of the slain rat folk as skeletal zombified servants of her own. Not all the constructs are disposed to attack newcomers. The stalwart defenders meet Cybil, a construct tourist shopkeeper who cheerfully attempts to sell them souvenirs which moulded beyond recognition centuries ago, amongst other more useful supplies. Leaving Cybil behind to peddle her perished wares to customers who will never come, the party emerges amongst the surface ruins of the city. These too are diligently patrolled by Panzriel's constructs, which apparently pay no heed to the gibbering, slurping monstrosities and aberrations which have also made the streets their home. It is almost as if the constructs are bidden to attack humanoids on sight and, following this to the letter, leave the more freakish departures from this body planet in peace. Having escaped the ancient guard constructs which patrol the surface of Sunderberg and the inhuman creatures the mechanical beings blindly ignore, the stalwart defenders make it into the fallen city's museum. Outside, shadow goblins, lesser foot soldiers of the hobgoblin shadow network, are fighting a particularly abortive tentacled horror. Neither Gaston Macready, preferring a less direct approach than the ones taken by the party, nor Taichu Hiragana, whose ambitions may one day see him in charge of the Iron Shadows, want to engage the shadow goblins in combat. Both take their leave for the time being. The party, no stranger to fighting its own battles, bests both goblins and abomination. 𝘞𝘰𝘮 claims the Banter Tamoshanta, a curious artifact found in the abomination's grip which bestows the gift of the gab upon the wearer. She also raises the foul creature and a goblin to act as her zombified servants. Raffen manages to stifle his growing objections to the blue-haired wizard's use of the dark arts, for now. The party is greeted in the museum by an essence who lives in the walls and statues, a donation-hungry tour guide. To 𝘞𝘰𝘮's surprise, it doesn't respond to the party's money. Maybe coinage has changed beyond recognition in the eons since the city's heyday. Further inside, wreathed in sickly green vapour, is Panzriel the Green, the ancient wizard from the city's myth, who is now kept alive by a suit of construct armour. The stalwart defenders find him fighting more of the Iron Shadow's goblins, raising the museum's exhibits, skeletons of dinosaurs, to do much of his dirty work for him. The company wades through both skeletons and goblins. Cecile even seizes control of an animated triceratops which is ridden by her and Ambrose. Panzriel's focus, however, is on the upper floor of the building. A device has been installed there and he knows that the hobgoblin shadow network is behind it. The stalwart defenders catch up with the green mage as he torments a goblin for information. The party already knows the device is the scrying stone Gaston Macready says they'd find there. To the company's surprise, another wizard, 𝘞𝘰𝘮 the Chronomancer, makes himself known. 𝘞𝘰𝘮 was told this silver-bearded chronomage may know a way to achieve her foremost hope, return to her own land and her own time. Panzriel and 𝘞𝘰𝘮 are ancient foes whose enmity stretches back who knows far. The appearance of both at the same time is no coincidence, but part of the ongoing feud between the two super powerful mages. 𝘞𝘰𝘮 vanquishes his evil foe using a banish spell. How long will this keep the mechanised wizard at bay? 𝘞𝘰𝘮 tells the stalwart defenders that, should Panzriel ever be defeated, 𝘞𝘰𝘮 would be able to retrieve documents from his evil foe's tower. This would allow the Chronomancer to continue his work and help 𝘞𝘰𝘮. However, Panzriel has proved himself devastating in combat, and a frontal assault by the party, at least in this stage in its development, would be suicide for its members. The museum had a library of its own. The party rifles it for whatever scraps of arcane knowledge might still be left. 𝘞𝘰𝘮 finds a text which might expand her growing ability to consort with devils or demons, whilst Mayona finds a text which suggests she can unlock the full powers of the pendant of the doppelganger. However, this would come at the cost of performing a boon for the Devil Prince 𝘞𝑰𝑡𝑟. Is this a cost she would be willing to pay for a mastery of the art of deception and intrigue? Either way, the Hobgoblin Scrying Stone was the reason for the adventure into the Dead City, and now the stalwart defenders have it. Gaston Macready is their key to reverse engineering the stone and thus being able to spy on their rivals for the Cartness Prize. For whatever his reasons, he branched off from the party when it reached the city streets. The party reasons that he must at some point return to his base at the orc-held Camp Gordachu, and so the stalwart defenders resolve to meet him there. Taichu Hiragana is much easier to find as he has been fighting abominations in the city surrounding the museum. His imprisonment has done nothing to dull his sword arm, and if anything, he's taken to the black blade claimed from the deck of the Woman Scorned with lethal relish. Back at orc-held Camp Gordachu, Gaston Macready is happy to start work on the Scrying Stone. However, in order for him to work for the stalwart defenders, he has to divert attention from a project he was completing for the orcs. This is not an easy choice to make because the orcs are neither patient nor good hosts to those who do not pay their way, to say the least. Two orc clans, Dead Piranha and Bone Smoke, are planning to parley not far as it happens from Tor's ancestral home, Monolith Haven. One of the clans had commissioned an automaton model depicting 𝘚𝘰𝘮𝘯𝘀, the orc god, which it intends to offer to the other tribe in order to sweeten the meeting. Although the mechanical idol is completed, if Macready has to refocus on the scrying stone, he won't be able to deliver the model in time. Never hesitant when it comes to taking a hint, the party agrees to catch up with the orcs as the greenskins travel to the meeting. If Hiragana has any objections about the party's facilitations of good relations between orc clans, or concerns over how they will use mastery of the scrying stone, they are not as strong as his ambitions to overturn Daiymo Kanji. The journey to catch up with the orc party, which had left from Camp Gordachu, is an arduous one, and the stalwart defenders only catch up with the greenskins at the site of the meeting, which luckily hasn't begun yet. However, the company also discovers a group of hobgoblin soldiers indecisively hiding amongst some nearby trees. Outnumbered by the orcs, the hobgoblins are wary of engaging the combined mass of their mortal enemies. However, yet more attention converges on the site of the orcs' gathering. As if to tip the scales, no pun intended, a silver-coloured dragon swoops from above. He hoses a large section of the orc band with a breath of metal shards, killing them by the dozen. In the blink of an eye, the balance of power between the orcs and the hesitant hobgoblins is rendered very different. In the chaos that ensues, Taichu Hiragana leads the hobgoblins into battle against the orcs. Rather than stand idle, the stalwart defenders join him. Although the following victory is not what Macready had in mind, it sows the first seeds for Hiragana's return to glory in hobgoblin society. Although the Taichu stays with the party after the battle, the soldiers who were all too briefly his leave with a mighty story of his deeds to pass on to their comrades. The proximity of Monolith Haven, the home of Clan Rusumov, makes it the obvious next port of call. After all, asking in person for help for Port Sovereign against the Dark Elves is bound to be more effective than sending a mere raven. However, upon the party's arrival, it finds that the hunger of the Hobgoblin Empire for slaves is so great that it is even willing to try the might of the Goliaths themselves. Shadow Goblin slavers have summoned the demon Drax and his two-clawed succubi to deal with the Goliaths guarding the cave entrance of Monolith Haven. Coming to the aid of Tor's kinsmen and defeating both demons and goblins, the stalwart defenders learned that the slaves the goblins already had in their caravan, many of them human, were being taken to Suk Salem, a coastal port that trades with Jiexing, a continent to the east, also dominated by the Hobgoblin Empire. To Hrafn's and Cecile's surprise, they recognise some of the slaves as captives from Southwood Head, the town that fell to the hobgoblins on the Trove Islands despite the two fighters' attempts to prepare the townsfolk for the invasion. Freeing these homesick souls is not the same thing as liberating their town, but it is a start. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to follow the adventure as it continues to unfold. If you're really enjoying the Callathiforay series, maybe you'd be interested in becoming a patron of the channel. I guarantee that every penny will be ploughed back into making future episodes even more awesomer. The main outlay for me at the moment is 3D models whose cost can rack up even on a shoestring. However, with a larger budget, I could even commission 3D artists, voice actors and who knows what. Thanks also to the great Callathiforay players, past and present, for their characters' backstories and for their role in creating the world.